You're listening to the Devil Dog Talk Show.
This show contains explicit material and is recommended for ages 18 and older for mature audiences only. But hey, it's the internet.
Yo.
Yeah, I think it's recording now. So I'll pull off one of my ears so it's not so awkward. Nice. I'll go with my good ear. Okay, let me pop this water bottle open.
There we go.
What is this water?
It is Solar Rain.
Solar Rain.
Yes, and it's the pH water that they make with electrolytes and minerals.
Okay, so straight question. Mm-hmm. Is it pronounced perfect or perfect?
Perfect.
Perfect. That's with the electrolytes and minerals and all that good stuff. Solar Rain.
Funny branding to put like the pH in there for like pH water, like alkaline water, right? And then I was like, perfect.
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a bunch of extra, what is it called? The syllables. You put the wrong syllables in the wrong position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So that means my pH is going to be good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a pH 9, 9 at bottling.
Damn, that's dope.
Yeah, lots of people come by and grab that water by the case from us. And,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, tons of people want to get that water in 5-gallon jugs, and I think they are working on that. They had a big 5-gallon truck that they had bought from a company up in L.A. that was going out of business.
Yeah, so they just like what?
Yeah, at the bottling plant, they will, the idea is that they'll fill those up, and then they'll do home delivery here in Valley Center and Escondido, out on the res.
That's what's up, dude.
Yeah.
It tastes really good.
It's a great water. It's one of the best that I've really tasted out there.
For all the listeners. This is not a product pitch, by the way, but it kind of ended up being one. I like it. So what we got going on today, we're hanging out with Nick Caregiver. Am I saying that wrong?
Care.
God damn it.
That's good.
You know how many times I practiced your name?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was like, it's unique. It's got a Caregiver in it. It's like Lightning McQueen, but a last name.
All my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But it's one of those weird ones with a bunch of silent consonants in there.
So then it ends up being just fun to correct people
Yeah.
while they're recording. Yeah. That's like, I was actually just waiting for you to fuck that up.
No.
Oh, man. So we're here with Nick Care.
Yeah.
Knocked it out of the park the second time around.
Killer.
Yeah, and we're here actually in the shop, the bike shop, and I wanted to introduce Nick because Nick is our sponsor for this season for the Devil Doc Talk Show. And if you didn't know you were listening to the Devil Doc Talk Show, let me tell you what. Welcome to the Devil Doc Talk Show. All right. And what we're going to do today is just talk about yourself and some of the products that you got going on. Mm-hmm. And then my key interest is always going to be agriculture because a lot of people discuss a lot of different things like, CBD products or cannabis products or just agriculture in general. I talk to a lot of people about it, actually, oddly enough, a lot more than most people. And I find it fascinating because I think agriculture is the key to, of course, independence, but also the future in what we're seeing economically, especially for the United States. Like, to me, it's a big deal. Always has been. I grew up in an agricultural kind of town, cows mainly, some cotton, tomatoes, but the processing plants were there too. So you get to see the whole situation, how it comes about. And then when we met, I had seen the farm behind, the grocery store, and I was like, "What the fuck,
You're like,
bro?
What's going on there?"
Yeah, it was like dope. But I was like, okay. And first and foremost, I could smell it.
Oh, yeah.
That was the thing. So I'm like, this was a couple years ago, and I'm like, whoa, what is that? And then we randomly met, and we hit it off, and we were talking, just a little background for everybody. And it was fascinating to me, one, how much work it takes. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's one. But two, the science behind it, and then the regulations. Mm-hmm. So I'll let you kind of come into the folds of all that verbal diarrhea. Wherever you want to dip your toes in.
For sure. And thanks for having me on the show, Joey. I've been looking forward to this for a while and kind of telling you and your listeners our whole story and, how we got into the CBD business. So I'd say just about 6-7 years ago, we started our company, CBD Organics. And like a lot of starter companies, we were just kind of doing a lot of the same products. So, we have the tinctures, the gummies, topicals, beverage enhancers, these kinds of CBD products that, most commonly are accessible to people and easy to imbibe, right? So you can do a dropper, you can take a gummy, great, get into it. And so we were having some good success there, but we thought, well, there's a lot of companies out there. And as a starter company without big, investment funding, it's kind of hard to compete.
Definitely.
And so we thought, well, one way we can give ourselves a competitive advantage is if we start to grow the CBD ourselves. So that's when we really kind of looked at the farming of it as a way to enhance our brand. And my father has a farming background. He's been up here in Valley Center for the last 15 years as an organic avocado and citrus farmer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, certified organic for many years. And so he has a huge farming background, which was great for us. And then came the process of, like you said, going through all the regulations and getting the licenses. And that was about a 2.5-year process, going through background checks, applying for the license. And being up here in Valley Center was a little tough because being an unincorporated community within San Diego, it had different rules than San Diego proper for applying for that license and everything. But eventually we got it going. We got our land parcel sanctioned by the county, GPS coordinates and everything. And then we finally started the farming project. And we also wanted to have the farm certified USDA organic, which, we talk with the controllers in San Diego that manage the hemp program. And they said, there's virtually nobody in the country who's doing a USDA certified organic hemp flower.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
very intense. Well, because there's probably not just that it's rare, but it's probably really intense to get everything, all your ducks in a row. And because the bigger concern, of course, with cannabis right now is THC quantities within your CBD farms. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine how stressful that is when you guys go to test and get everything going.
It's huge.
So what is that like? Like, what is the process from when, you get your genetics probably lined up?
Yep.
You got your soil, your solutions, all the things that you use for growing throughout the season. And it's outdoor, so for a lot of...
Yeah, it's an outdoor growing operation. We were sanctioned for about 5 acres.
Okay.
But the first year of operation, we just did about 3 acres in total, which it was still a lot of land that you have to cultivate and manage. But so yeah, like you mentioned, it starts off with our cultivars and getting, seeds that are approved by the county. And then also working with CCOF, who's our certifying agency for being organic.
What does CCOF stand for?
I can't remember. Honestly.
CUF.
But they're one of many different certifying agencies that give you your USDA organic certification.
Cool. So it's like weighing in to wrestle, and everything's got to be certified and checked by the boards and weights and balances.
And with, like I mentioned, with organic hemp being so rare, we only found one company in the country that could get us certified organic seeds.
Wow.
So it did limit the strains that we could grow, but within that, we found some good ones that we picked up and went with. And what we ended up doing was getting the seeds, and we have another guy in town here who is certified organic, and he germinates for us.
Oh, wow.
And so what we ended up doing the first year, we wanted to come out strong and give our plants every head start possible. So we gave him all of our seeds, and he germinated them till they were little seedlings about 5 inches tall. And then we just popped those plugs into the ground.
Oh,
And so
man, that is awesome. How did that fare the first season?
it was excellent. And if anybody out there is a farmer, you may know that your first year ends up being your best year. Oddly enough, as long as you have the knowledge and know what to put in and how to manage it, it tends to be great because your local insects and pests, they don't know that the farm exists.
Oh, nice.
And, your second year gets worse, your third year gets worse, and then fourth year you start to get a little better. So we just wrapped up our third year of growing. And yeah, it wasn't great.
Is it pests? Is it what was the bigger problem?
Well, so I want to circle back to like you said about the regulations with testing for the THC levels.
Right.
So going back to our first year of growing, we would do independent tests on our own biomass as the season went on. So as soon as we start to see little buds form, we start to see those trichromes, we start to see it get really sticky and stinky. We'd take samples of the flower, we send it to Infinite Cal, which is easily one of the best labs here in San Diego for hemp and cannabis testing.
Okay.
And I would also encourage any of your listeners, when they're going out there and buying CBD products, make sure whatever you're buying has a COA, a Certificate of Analysis. And that verifies that it's been tested for not only THC, but Delta-9, Delta-8, CBD, CBN, CBG, CBC, a bunch of these other cannabinoids that could be present in there. And they'll also do microbial analysis, heavy metal testing. And so that's, kind of that accountability that you really want.
Right.
And
transparency in product.
Exactly. So that you know exactly what you're getting. So we would independently test our crop. And basically, we kind of knew when we were going to harvest, when the plant was going to be mature. But like you said, as we get closer to the harvest point, it does become a bit of a nail biter, because if you cross over a certain percentage of THC that tests, you have to destroy your crop. You cannot harvest it, and the county has to come out and witness destruction.
What?
Yes. And so basically we would do our independent testing, and when we got, a few percentage points before where it would be cut off, that is when we bring the county in, and then they do their official lab testing. And so somebody from the county comes out, they do their own sampling, and of course they're going out and they're taking the fattest, chunkiest buds, because they want a realistic sample size for what they're testing so that they get accurate results. And so I remember we had submitted the samples to the lab, and I was at the grocery store doing some shopping for my folks, and I get the email from the lab. It says Infinite Cal lab results, and I freeze right there by the mustard.
By the mustard.
By the mustard. I remember it.
By the mustard.
And I look at it, we're below. Oh
Nice.
My God, thank goodness. So we got approved. All of our cultivars were certified California industrial hemp. So we were good to go. And so at that point, once the county says you're good, you have 30 days to harvest. And so typically what we would do, and what we did, was we give it another 2 weeks so that we get as much CBD growth as we can, since we're already, approved by the county, and then we harvest.
Got it.
And then we harvested, we hung everything up to dry and cure.
Cool. So you got a month to harvest, but you guys extend the season, so to speak, to get a little bit more bang for the buck, right?
Exactly. And so when the county does their testing, they come in and they take a big stalk from the bottom and they take a big stalk from the top. It includes water leaves, some other biomass, and they basically grind that up into an emulsion, and then they lab test the goop, basically.
Gotcha.
So, the interesting thing that still has some contention in the industry is, we'll have the lab test from the county that says, yep, you're you're below the THC level required, which is 0.3%.
What?
So not even 1% THC, 0.3%.
Okay. That's ridiculously small.
It's crazy small. That's the rule in California. I believe in Oregon, they've bumped it up to 1%.
Okay.
But you have to be below that 0.3%, or the county comes in and you got to destroy the crop. So I can't remember the exact numbers of our first year's test, but I think when we got it back, it tested at 0.25, and we were like, great. We're like right under there. But keep in mind that test includes some of these water leaves, some of the stalks and stems, and some other things. So the county says, great, you're good to go. And then we harvest, we trim, we cure, and then we send just a bud that goes in for lab testing. And that's basically just the concentrated amount of CBD that's in there. That's the cream of the crop, right? That's what you're going to be smoking, what you're going to be extracting from, whatever. And we see 19% CBD in there.
Oh, wow.
From that flower, which is incredible. And so for folks that are in the cannabis space, I think some cannabis is at 27% THC, which is really melt your face off crazy. So to see, 19% in CBD in the first year of growing, it was incredible.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. However, here's the interesting thing. The THC is well over that 0.3% when you test just that concentrated bit. So we send out samples to people and they say, well, we can't take this. You're over the 0.3%.
Oh, shit.
And I say, well, yeah, because that's just the concentrated bit.
It's the actual bud.
Yeah, exactly. But the county, this is how they conduct their tests. Don't get mad at me because, that's how they do it. And if I send them the certificate of analysis from the county, we maybe only show CBD of 8%. And so somebody says, well, that's pretty weak CBD flower. And I said, yeah, but that's the county test that approved us. Here's just the concentrated one. This is the product you're actually going to be getting. And it's at 19% CBD, but the THC is also above that 0.3%.
Oh, I see.
So that was where some people in the industry get a little freaked out. And I think why we may have had some problems selling that flower in the beginning, because people needed to be educated on that testing process and how it goes down.
Yeah, because the main concern would be, because I think this is a big issue just in general in the world, like on the planet Earth, like people, or if you call it Gaia, I don't know, whatever anybody's into, right? That shit's bomb. But so on Earth we have standards, right? And those standards are usually illy represented when you're a purchaser or consumer, because it's marketing, right? And then at the end of the day, though, we don't really know the way that things are actually processed or treated or, scanned or tested or packaged. Like there's this like a reading or rating in hot dogs or like just food in general. You're allowed to have like a percentage of human flesh
within there, or a percentage of bugs in there, and insects.
Yeah, so I mean, like, we're all cannibals, clearly, a little bit, by a small percentage, but the small percentage counts. But the actual here, the crossover is, well, with the product, in a medicine, it's very important to know like CBD, THC, THCAs, CBN, all the great things that you explained, and then terpene panels is what the thing that I've been learning a lot more. And the entourage effect of cannabis in itself. So your products are hemp, cannabis, which is CBD hemp, right? And in the world of cannabis dispensaries, you're right. They're getting, flower 20s, even mid 30s, just THC. But when you look at the CBD portion, it's not even 1% or maybe 1%.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with the cultivar that they're using and those genetics, because everybody's just trying to get more numbers, higher, testings out there. And, I hear so many people say, I can't even smoke weed these days. It's too strong.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you take a puff and you're locked on your couch because it is that, that 28-30% THC. And, you know, I mean, when we were growing up, we smoke a joint in the parking lot and we just feel a little loopy and we're out of there. But I think we were buying mech back in the day.
Like totally just dirt weed.
Yes, exactly. And, people say, well, you kind of have to buy that these days if you don't want to be totally just out of your mind.
Just done.
High.
See,
So,
that's a good question too, because like, what is the high, right? And then what is the medicine? And I'm not saying there's a huge difference, because I do think there's therapeutic value in being high, but more so on the actual chemical. Like CBD is what I read is more of the medical benefit for your whole body.
yes.
Okay. And then like the THC is good for psychology, because you're, loopy-de-doopy and you feel good. And
Exactly. And so the way that I look at it is there's two camps of relief. Like you said, the THC gets your mind distracted, but the CBD is what's actually getting in there with its anti-inflammatory processes and helping your body heal itself. And so you really do need a combination of both of those if you really want the true benefit and effect from hemp and cannabis.
that's what's up. Yeah. Because well, you got the CBD, you got the THC, and the common science is like there's over 400 different things in the cannabis plant, just stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I find that excruciatingly fascinating.
Yeah, it's wild, and every year it seems that they're testing and extracting and finding all these different cannabinoids that are in there. For example, CBD is the big one, right? But now CBG is huge out there. CBN is huge out there, and so again, for your listeners, look at those COAs and see what cannabinoids are in there and at what presence they're in there. Because sometimes it'll say, you'll buy a product that says broad spectrum, right? And yeah, it's mostly CBD, but there's a little CBG, a little CBN in there. But how much of that? I mean, I've seen some COAs produced where it's 0.1% CBG. And you're like, well, I mean, is it really there at enough presence to have an effect? And I've talked with some of the biggest folks in the industry and kind of tried to pry and get a bit of information out of them and say, hey, how much is actually required for that entourage effect to actually happen? And I've never gotten a straight answer out of them.
Yeah, I think it's very up in the air, because one's marketing, one's science. Everybody wants to be first in, last out, right? Mm-hmm. And I went to this seminar in 2015. This was many moons ago, right?
Yeah.
And it was fascinating because of the focus on the entourage effect at that time within terpenes, and the way the terpenes interact with the combination of cannabinoids, and where else you can get these terpenes, and insert specific terpenes, or have genetics that are based off of X, Y, and Z, right? Mm-hmm. And then so what I was really learning though was nobody really knows, because the science you're not really allowed to do. Mm-hmm. And this is when I met Sue Sisley. And Sue Sisley is this doctor, I think from Arizona, and she's been really a huge advocate for cannabis for veterans and PTSD treatment, just in general. And so after meeting her and a couple other dudes, Roger Martin, who's passed away, I think last year or so, and he was a veteran, and he started a veteran, not a co-op, but like a nonprofit that really promotes veteran grown, right? Mm-hmm. Can't remember the name of it. I remember his name, Roger Martin, right? Right. But so at the end of the seminar, all right, this like investment thing, there's not really ironclad, rock solid science, because you're technically not allowed to do it. And that's what I find fascinating, that, we can do it in certain states, and we can do it at certain levels. And the state has their regulations, like you were saying, their testing modules or protocols, right? Mm-hmm. And their their concepts of standards. So within certain limits of this and that, and I know there's a whole board. You were saying the CCOF and
well, yeah, those guys are they're just for organic certifications.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily apply to hemp, but they certainly make sure that, you know, you go to the grocery store and you buy an organic avocado. If it's certified through CCOF, you know absolutely that there's no pesticides, that that you've jumped through every hoop. And actually, CCOF is the toughest certifying agency in the state.
oh wow,
They make you jump through more hoops than anyone else. And, you know, in our first year of farming, you know, my father is certified organic through CCOF. I said, well, why the hell are we going through this really tough certification process? And he said, well, the people that know, when they see the CCOF logo on your product, they know that you're marked at the highest quality standards
That's
and
what's
at the
up,
highest
dude.
regulations. So that was also a badge of pride for us there.
Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment. Again, I don't know what I'm learning right now, just like the listeners, right? But I do know within my own field of profession prior, right, in the military and being a laboratory technologist or medical tech, whatever you want to call them, CAP and all these different like certifying boards and AA was it? There was CAP, MedIG, JCO, which is the medical standard, right? And if your hospital doesn't get the certification, or if your lab doesn't get the CAP certification, like you can do it and, you know, it's cool, you know, like, it's no big deal because it's the military, it's not necessary. But having that, like you said, it's just that extra step above, not just the competition, but in standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are other folks out there that say, well, it's grown organically or it's organically this or that. And says, oh, great, you know, that's fine. But without a certification, you know, how do we know how many little things get slipped through the cracks?
Yeah. How do we validate it?
And, you know, a big thing with their certifying process is that they watch blowover. So they're really cautious about where you're farming and, hey, are any of your neighbors farming non-organically? Because if they are and they're spraying stuff, some of that stuff could blow into your farm. And so lots of restrictions as far as geographical distance from other non-organic farms is huge for them. And so fortunately, where we were sanctioned to grow, that land had been fallow for 10 years, I would say. Nothing was grown on there. And there were no farms directly around us. So it worked out as a perfect area for us to get the certification.
That's so cool because around our town, just for the listeners, because I talk about Valley Center quite a bit, you know, actually kind of obnoxiously. Yeah. You know, not a point of pride or ego, but a point of just discovery and like wonder, like just befuddlement. Like, what do you mean there's like a rural area around San Diego that nobody talks about besides Julian or Alpine?
Right.
You know, and what I learned about the town was, you know, this used to be a very big agricultural area.
Huge.
And it just kind of, you know, took a hard right. And nowadays it's, you know, we still see it up and down the roads, but the focus of the town is very much so development and people, which is good for a town, you know, getting new blood, new investment, new opportunities, developments. There's soon to be a Taco Bell.
Yeah. Right.
Fucking stoked.
Yes.
But what thrives in communities like this is like farms, right? So there's a couple of cool farms out here. Everybody knows Bates, you know, for the pumpkin patch.
Oh, yeah.
But nobody talks about, you know, like a cannabis cultivation. Nobody talks about, you know, plums, of course, but, you know, we're not talking about plums right now. Or avocados. There's like a 400-acre avocado farm down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's nuts, but then you go, well, how come and why not? Is there not more, not necessarily to bring up competition, but why isn't there more people doing these certifications or growing in these areas or developing, you know, a concept of agriculture?
Well, I've got an answer for you. And,
Listening.
All right.
I'm stoked. On the edge of my seat.
And
with my hemorrhoid pillow and everything.
You know, and it's water.
Water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's the biggest challenge that Valley Center as a community, from a farming standpoint, has faced over the last 10 years. And it's that the water department here charges us $1,500 per acre foot of water. And so for the uninitiated farming, an acre foot is a square acre 1 foot deep of water.
Okay.
So if you look at a map and you think, so that's an
That
acre.
seems like a hyper inefficient way to measure it.
It's funny. It's
okay. So go. So it's
the cool
1,500.
imperial.
That sounds like a shit ton of. That sounds
for
expensive.
For example, just down in Escondido, that same amount is about $400.
Whoa.
So, for example, you come up the grade into Valley Center, you see tons of avocado groves all around you. Everything's green, everything's flush because they have cheap water. And then as soon as you get into Valley Center, you start to see, dead groves, dead trees. And every year we've been having to shut off trees.
What?
Because the water's just too expensive. The produce prices are going down, and you can't make ends meet as a farmer up here anymore.
Is it because all the avocados are coming from Mexico?
I think that's a part of it.
Yeah.
I also heard the cartel is involved in some avocado business too. So
Yeah, I actually watched a hilarious meme.
yeah.
Meme. I don't know how to pronounce this shit, guys. The dude's like, yeah, can we get the cartel to, operate everything? Because they're so efficient. Like avocado's the cheapest it's been in 10 years and like all this different stuff. I'm like, you bring up a valid point.
Yeah, and the bummer is, okay, trade happens, right? And if you do want organic produce, a lot of it does come from Mexico. But, what about those certifying agencies? And I guarantee you, if you test some organic products from down there, you're going to find some stuff that's
Shouldn't be there.
allowed down there for their certifying agencies, but not for ours. So you'll find some stuff there, but it's it's been a huge drop in local farms here because just the water's too expensive. On top of us having massive droughts over the last 10 years too, so we're getting less rain. The water's more expensive, and the price of avocados is going down. And that does not breed, a good business model.
Not at all.
And it's not sustainable.
It would put off anybody that was like, dude, that's a huge difference. I'm an idiot. Right? So when you tell me a mile down the road or two, you're paying $400 for an acre foot of water.
Yeah.
Versus 1,500 here.
Yeah. It's wild. And so, unfortunately, over the last few years, the avocado farm was going down. So when we started the hemp farm, I'll tell you this, avocado trees love to drink.
I bet.
They take lots of water. And so the hemp plant, it's pretty water efficient. But we ran the numbers, and we weren't going to be sustainable if we had to pay the county water fee. So we ended up getting the Staleys to drill a well for us on the property. And thank God we did hit water. But it ran us $80,000.
Holy shit.
So huge investment in there. And we thought, we, in our first year of farming, gorgeous plants. Everything looked incredible. And we were bringing, potential clients over to the farm and showing them everything, and people said, "Oh yeah, great! This looks wonderful. As soon as it's ready, we'll buy it all."
Right.
And another funny thing, we would have clients come by, and our GPS coordinates for the farm are on the county registrar, and so police helicopter would fly over, and you can see that bright yellow camera looking around at everything.
Holy shit.
And our clients, one guy would nudge the other and look up and just say, "Hey, isn't it nice to not have to worry about that?"
Yeah. That's
because,
so true.
Well, everything got legalized in the last few years, right? But there's a lot of people from the industry where it was illegal that transitioned over to it. So,
No, I am quite aware of the huge shift in cannabis. In fact, I believe Andrew D'Angelo said it the best. Like, you have your mom and pop cannabis, and you have these generations of growers, you know, and just this wealth of knowledge of how to produce just immaculate plants, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the shift into regularization. That's a new one. Regulation. The shift into regulation and the whole legal side of it. And there's, you know, we call them accountants, bean counters, whatever you want, but the administrators of society may not be as in tune to how things function best, right? So it's pretty remarkable. Like, you bring up, you know, just the stress of, you know, one, being a farmer is stressful because you don't know if the crop's going to come in, right? You have existential circumstances like, you know, fees on that, charges on this, drilling or not, you know, overhead this way or that way, you know, bad cold snap or frost snap, whatever they call it, you know, can ruin people for generations, you know, or a wave of bird flu or some shit. Something. There's always something. And now you're going to talk. I know that cops go around and do inspections. I just saw them the other day on the road on like oranges over a fruit fly.
Yeah.
I'm from Mexico. It's like, man, you guys are really wanting these Mexicans out of here.
Oh my
and
God.
it's just the fruit flies though, man.
Right.
But it's really just remarkable because then you have the stress of course, you know, optics. Okay. Like for me, when I first found the farm, right?
Right.
I look up and I'm like, holy fuck, is that weed?
Right.
And then that is some weed, you know?
Yeah.
And then of course the curious mind, it begs to ask, you know, is this legit? How's it legit? And then for you guys, like, one, you got to keep people like me out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive that's a problem. And then two, how do you appease, you know, just the onlooker? Like if, you know, like you said, the helicopter.
Yeah. You know, part of the requirements for having our industrial hemp cultivation license is that we do have signs posted all around the property that said no THC, just hemp flower.
Nice.
But that doesn't stop people from hopping the fence and stealing 8 or 10 plants every year.
Holy shit.
They jump over, they trim it, and they think they're going to have a good time. And they will.
I mean,
but
it's still an outstanding product.
Yeah, but it's...
Speaking from experience, like, I enjoy it thoroughly.
You know, and that's the thing with organic farming, right? You basically, you have your pests, and there's no way around them. You know, they're always going to be there, and basically what you have to do is just outproduce them.
Nice.
Because... You know, and so that's what you have to do for the pests and the thieves. you got to make way more than they're going to try to steal from you. But so that was another challenging part about the farm is that, you know, we can't use any kind of pesticides. We have to do pest management by hand. And so every morning we have a few of our guys walk the fields and we're literally picking caterpillars off these plants by hand.
Oh my God,
and,
dude.
you know, looking at every plant and, you know, just trying to keep everything going. Fortunately, that first year, like I mentioned, is the best year for your pests because they're not clued into this new farming operation.
Yeah, they're not in it as well. Yes, because was it year after year with soil too that you get the grubs, that
stuff, and
Japanese beetles or whatever it is.
And as part of the organic certification too, we have crop rotation management. That's a requirement too. Because, and I don't know if other certifying agencies do this, but they need to, or they want us to make sure that we're not sapping the soil year after year. So we have to grow in different locations.
Oh, wow.
And revitalize the soil and throw cover crop in the off season. So we keep it healthy and natural as well.
That is so intense. So I'm going to throw out the ignorant card here. Having a conversation with last season, and this was a couple years ago now, people. Hold on. Just listen. The USDA guy, Carlos Suarez, okay? So me and him would talk a lot, especially during that episode, because I really like picking people's brains that have either wisdom, knowledge, or just some, like, just cool shit to talk about, right? And his upbringing through USDA was through soil conservation. And so I would ask a lot of questions that most people either do or don't know to ask, like, the whole back to Biodome. Remember that movie?
I do.
And the whole, like, oh, everything's got to be perfect and, blah, 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 yada. But the whole concept of enriching your soil through other, like this biosphere of this harmonious, synergistic, like plant-based shit, like that's all going on in it. And then I'll let you fill in, the smart words here.
Sure.
But how do you get that to be going right? That's got to be another thing that's just like, how?
Yeah. Well, so the way that we did a lot of the fertilization for the farm was through the irrigation system.
Okay.
And, fortunately for us, having land that had been fallow for so many years, it was super mineral rich just from natural weeds and, the native biodiversity existing there untouched for so many years. And so you have a decade of, rabbits running through there, putting their poop on the ground, and, snakes shedding their skin, and all of that enriching the soil. And so that in combination with a good cover crop, we use clover. Because
Clover.
Yeah, it's nitrogen heavy. And so we throw that. Actually, this is the time for it. We throw the seed out there, and then as we get our rains in, winter, early spring, that stuff grows in there, and then we just till that back into the soil.
Oh, sweet.
And it helps to revitalize it.
Nice. Yeah, because there was a lot of stuff that I was learning too about that biodiversity. Like you said, that's a good word. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really cool because the same thing with pests. Everything has a balance, right? There's a yin and a yang. I talk about philosophy a lot and, mind, psychology, of course.
Yeah.
When you get banged up enough, it kind of makes you go inward, like, I don't want to do that no more.
Right.
Like, I don't want to go outside. It's dark.
Yeah.
But so the concept of, farming and the philosophy of biodiversity, right? Mm-hmm. And even pest management.
Right.
Like everything has something that'll get it. Funguses. Oh, yeah. Super interesting.
Yeah.
Like the mycology of shit and soil and the way that it helps plants communicate. Yeah. And so when you enrich your biosphere, your diversidomes, all this weird shit, that what you're doing is like recreating what's working on the planet as a whole for like billions of years.
Yeah, kind of what's already been established as sustainable.
And sustainable. That's the best word for it. Because you're not pouring chemicals, right? Like all up, and maybe that's why they had so much fertilizer in that one place that blew up, and everybody's like, that was a nuke. And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is pretty intense though.
So getting back to you on the biodiversity of the area, right? And trying to keep it as, it existed before we started the farming there. For that pest management, your best friend are cats.
Really?
Yeah, huge. And birds and other raptor variety of birds out there. And one of the best times at the farm is on, a summer afternoon. You're sitting under the big oak tree we have on the farm, because it was a gorgeous tree and we could have taken it out, but we wanted to keep it there because it's a wonderful place to have a business meeting under the shade of the tree and,
I love
buy all
it.
the hemp plants. But
I love the image of just this huge oak tree. I love oak trees.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. But, you sit there in the afternoon, the sun's going down, and there are some power lines that do hang over a portion of the farm there. And you look up and you see all these little birds line up on the power line, and they're all looking down at the hemp crop. And then, as if, by one cue, all of them just dive down and they eat all the bugs that are in the field. And so just relying on natural management systems like that already exist, that are there, is a huge part of why we want to keep it organic. Because if we were spraying crops, there wouldn't be the bugs for the birds to eat. They'd be somewhere else. And so cultivating that natural biosphere within there is just an incredible thing to see.
Yeah, because it's not just the plant. It's the whole concept. Like I feel like a lot of people, this generation, not to paint, be that old guy. You listen to this old head, but just our generation in current life. We're quick to get everything, even ours, and the results are diminishing returns. Right, there's constant diminishing returns. Like you can invest your money here, it's diminishing there. You can buy that product, but it's got forever chemicals. And 3M just came out and said straight up, like, we're going to stop that. And I'm like, what?
Wait, now?
Well, yeah, good move. But P.S. also, like, what? They're actually admitting stuff and being honest and owning it and like saying, okay, we're going to stop that. And I think you give people the not necessarily the benefit of the doubt, but the opportunity to do better things. You might have better results. Like this sounds like one of those things.
And I think that's a great point you bring up with these big companies that, they have such a huge footprint in their marketplace that, even if they detect a problem, for them, it's a cost, risk versus reward, and I can't name specifics, but I've heard, some pharmaceutical companies, they're rolling out a new drug in the industry, and they'll have these clinical tests, and the tests will find out, we'll probably kill around, 10,000 people with this drug, but, we're going to sell so much of it that, those 10,000 people are going to sue us for, I don't know, $50 million, but we're going to make, $200 million at the end of it. So it works out. So we're just going to roll the drug out, even though they know that it's going to kill people.
What?
Because they look at it from a financial standpoint instead of a interpersonal standpoint.
Dude, I see that so often. Like you pointing it out helps me actually reflect back on like a lot of instances.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about that before. Like a corporation mindset is if you can break the law and get away with it long enough that your margins are considerably larger than the penalties.
Yeah, just pay the fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's fine to pay the fine for those guys.
It's just disgusting. Like to believe that. I think people project. I think we all project. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Morals, ethics, principles, likes, dislikes, wants, desires, influences, all the different shit you can imagine. Right. And it's pretty fucked up that on a societal standpoint or societal level, we're okay with that. We're okay with 10,000 people biting the dust as long as fentanyl's rolling out, whatever drug it is. Like, everybody hates fentanyl right now. And I'm like, everything has its time and place. Don't bastardize something because of abuse or, somebody's agenda or plan or plot. And like, it's the same thing with cannabis. Like we destroy the whole history of cannabis out of fear of control, like honestly. But nowadays it's like, well, what can we get away with for so long? But there's a larger consequence I don't think people are aware of. Like we're older now, and with the technology that we have, the engineers of the world are really focusing on nature and emulation of nature, even within development of engineering or technology or processes.
Well, I think they realize that it's getting harder and harder to fight nature. Yeah. And, every year that, Southern California gets a little bit drier, people have to cut back just a little more. And certainly, that's a whole nother podcast right there. But there's a tipping point, and there is only so far that modern technology can go without trying to incorporate like a natural solution into it, and try to restore some of those natural balances. And so as far as that goes with, these big companies in the hemp and cannabis industry, I think that they look at it from a profit standpoint. And there's been a huge downturn in the hemp and cannabis market recently. And I believe this is because when everything got legalized, there Wall Street and big investment funds said, hey, this is legal, let's get into it. And so, there are these guys that are raising capital, getting funds, and they're doing hemp and CBD farming on an industrial scale like you would farm corn.
Yeah.
And so for us as a small farm, it becomes a huge challenge. And what we really ran into over the last few years was how we have a hard time selling the flower. Yeah, it's organic, it's certified, it's local, and it's an incredible product on its own. But we couldn't sell the stuff, and the price just kept going down and down and down and down and down to the point where we got offers for the flower, which were less than the cost of us just trimming it in labor. So
it's insane.
So
dude.
that was pretty wild because you spend the typical grow time for one season of CBD flower is like 5 months thereabout.
Okay.
We plant beginning of spring, we harvest in the beginning of fall, or no, middle of spring, and we harvest in fall after the harvest moon. And so you have all that time, all the man hours, and like I said, we have guys walking the field every day, picking off those bugs by hand. We're irrigating, we're spending money on fertilizers. We're paying our fees to the certifying agencies.
Yeah.
And to see it fall down to where we can't sell this product. And like I mentioned, we have people coming to the farm that said, oh yeah, this all looks great, we're going to buy it all as soon as it's done.
Yeah.
And then great, we get it all done, trimmed, cured, ready to go. Everybody disappeared.
Yeah, that's how it typically works out, especially with something that's really good, because it's kind of the same thing. Like if I can get it cheaper, on Amazon, I'm not going to go out to the local store, but you're not getting what you pay for.
And for these big guys that were buying it, because it was a small farm, 3 acres, but we were still able to cultivate about 7,000 pounds of just flower.
What?
In total.
That's a lot of flowers.
It's a lot of flower. And then, to have all that hand trimmed and bagged individually in 1 pound turkey bags. I mean, it's a lot of storage. It's a lot of energy and effort thrown into it. And what we found out was, we would send out our certificates of analysis to these buyers. On their level, nobody gave a shit that it was organic.
Really?
Nobody. They said, well, maybe we have one client in Europe that really they just want, certified organic, but, they want everything for the nothing price. And, we said, guys, this is just not sustainable for us. And that's why so many farmers dropped out of the industry. I just talked with one of the registrars on the hemp board here in San Diego, and they said we lost half our farmers last year.
Wow.
50% of the hemp farmers went out of business and stopped because you just can't make it. And, fortunately, we are in a position where, CBD Organics as a brand, we're not just the farm. We have our own products, other divisions of the company. So that helps us from going underwater. So we can kind of supplement and stay afloat and keep this going, because we worked too many years to get this license. We're not going to give it up that quick.
No, hell no. Because that's something that, again, it speaks volumes to character. And then that character derives a better product. And of course, things take time, like especially when it's something like word of mouth or small growth or
Certainly.
Companies with, they call them penny stocks, right? Yeah. Back in the day. I guess it still is pretty important to know that. And when a company is worth investing in because of its not just its developments, its engineering, but the people, clocking in every day, right? I think we got away from that as a country. Outsourcing, we could, get programmers in India for a fraction of a cost than having programmers in the States, right? We can have product development, manufacturing, medications. We've outsourced ourselves to death. What we learned with COVID was, fucking just amount.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And we could do it, but hey, it's like I always talk about bad coping mechanisms, right? You can do it. It doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Yeah.
But here you are with this great product, and you guys have this certification. You have multiple different products, and the flower is really great. Like, it's amazing. It's not stony. Like, again, it's not THC.
Yeah.
But like I use it. I integrate it with my medication.
Yeah.
And it's pleasant. It's nothing like oh my god.
And the cool thing is, it smells and tastes just like the real stuff too.
Exactly.
And so for people that still want to smoke it, it's an incredible product. But also, if you're not into the inhalation portion of that, you can infuse oils with this. You can start cooking with this flower. Tons of different applications for it at home.
So
other
it's
than
like
just
literally
smoking it.
every same thing that everybody talks about with weed nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Well, I should say we're different. We're saying weed, but it's not. It's the same plant. It just measures different on a scientific
it's just
level.
The different strains that are bred genetically for those traits, and some of them want to melt your face off. And
do you feel
others,
like weed's becoming more of a I don't want to say like an IPA beer people type of thing,
Like
but more
boutique.
more boutique, where they're like, oh, my russet potatoes don't stand anything against my golden potatoes, or like the specifics of genetics are now the thing that people cling to. Like,
I've heard that there are some celebrity weeds that have been coming out, and they slap their face on it. At the end of the day, they're buying it from whoever is going to be cheapest, and they're co-packing it, and they're sending it out. And
wow.
I don't know if we're going to have to cut this out, but what I've heard in the industry is that these guys are out there and they're buying CBD flower, and they're taking it and they're spraying it with Delta 8 and Delta 9 THC oil, and then they're packaging it and selling it as THC weed.
Holy shit.
And that's how we're getting some of these crazy high numbers, because there are limits to what nature can do. I mean, if you're getting above 25%, I'm pretty sure that that's like an altered product that you have there. And I saw this article where there are these little vape jewels where they're saying 40% THC, and they're infusing it with some of the just the raw Delta 9 and raw Delta 8 to achieve those numbers. And they think that by having this lab test that shows 40% is going to be their marketing bit. And like you said, first to sale, first to market, they're thinking that that's the way to go. But it's wrecking people.
Yeah.
And people aren't happy with it. We've got several customers in town here that love the gummies that we have, and they're 30 milligrams per gummy. Banner in town here, he runs. He's Batman.
Nice.
As he is known, he has a legit Batmobile from like the 1990s.
I've seen that.
Yeah, So he runs a weed abatement company here in town. He swears by those gummies, and he takes a couple of them every night. And so we had run out of them. Unfortunately, we were waiting on a restock, and he wanted to, come in and say, Nick, where are the gummies? Where the hell? And I said, it's the holidays. Everything's slowing down. They're coming. So, he needed the relief, and he went to the gas station and he bought some gummies, and it wrecked him. He didn't know that they were heavy THC gummies. And, he goes and he buys a product that he thinks is going to be safe. And, he said he had to take some Vicodin to calm down.
Oh my God.
Or no, Xanax. One of, he was just, and he's got
I think
family.
both will pretty much will knock you on your ass.
Yeah. So
either way, you're calming down.
So, and, that's something that was purchased at the gas station that for a grown man knocked him on his ass when he wasn't expecting it. And that's very dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous, because what if you have a plan, and you're doing something and then
Like,
it hits you?
Yeah, or I'm out with my kids and boom, this thing is affecting me. I can't drive. Like, this is not safe. I'm going to get a DUI, or I'm going to get pulled over, something. So that whole portion of, the accountability and kind of pulling things back a little bit and saying, hey, let's not focus on just this crazy THC level, but let's find a comfortable thing that's good for treating people's pain and anxieties.
No, that's solid. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. And you bring up pain, and you bring up, of course, I bring up plate muscle relief, like on the show.
I love it.
Yeah, because I love it and it works good. And, everybody in the world, we can talk about, policy reform, yada, 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 pharmacies or doctors or VA or Kaiser, whoever you go to, right? The whole world of pain management's shifted quite a bit in the past few years. And so it leaves you desperate. Our suicide numbers have increased in our populace. And a lot of it is, some of it, I should say, not a lot of it, but some of it is influenced by the lack of application of good medicine practice, right? And so if you're a pain physician, if you're a pain doctor, you can't operate outside of your formulary or protocol, because in your insurance, there's this fear-based limitations. Because I guarantee you there's doctors out there that either A, use CBD or use cannabis as a whole spectrum, right? And they're like telling their patients, like, hopefully you're going to catch on to what I'm throwing down really quick, but look at this, right? And it's a sticker of plate muscle relief, or it's, the organics, this and that, or, hopefully that's what people start doing, because I just don't see it as a viable being a practitioner, right? I think everybody gets into practice to help, and then of course bills come on. So you start confining how you practice to the way that your person that helps you pay the bills tells you to, right? And it gets overwhelming in just about any industry, right? You're going to cave into the influences that pay your bills. Yeah. Okay. And I can bring up the past 3 years, but then it'd be like, yo, preaching to the choir, folk. But at the same time, I go, yes, but it's very important to know that every industry is impacted, right, by these types of decision making. And it falls back to simple, principle-based, moral-based type of actions, not necessarily thoughts or processes or words, but actions are what actually have results, right? And so here's a product that I've used, several times. Last night, in fact, my back's fucked up all the time. So instead of being on morphine now, I utilize the CBD products. I utilize, full THC products. And, accompaniment of like a handful of other things. But the plate muscle relief cream, like I put it on again, just last night. And my wife gives me the nice little elbow here, a nice little elbow there, and then a little bit of there, I'm like, yeah. And so as soon as you get that kicked in, oh man, I'm out. So it's usually a good sign and signal, like, all right, it was the pain. I was feeling nauseous. I was getting very short, short-tempered. Just everything. When you're in really bad pain, everybody knows this because everybody's had a toothache or a tummy ache or whatever. Right? Everybody knows that when you reach your limit, it's like, dude, shut up the world. You just want to shut it off. And this is something that takes that volume. It doesn't remove it. This isn't like, oh my God, it's like morphine. No, because morphine will turn your shit down, bro. And this is more or less like a good, like we got a good sound, mixer, and the hi-hat just comes back down into balance.
A little bit.
And just very nice. And it doesn't dilute the day, right? I'm not worried about being out of the funk, or in the funk, I should say. I could participate a little bit more with the kids than I could before. And I'm not all loopy or desensitized, because that's what I really noticed on opiates it was very like a huge weight of just nothing, sheer apathy. Yeah. Right. And I was numb. I was pleasant. I could move. I smile, whatever. I could shut the fuck up, go about my day, whatever. But it was killing me softly, right? And these type of products are like, hey, by the way, don't forget to earth every now and again, don't forget to ground, go ahead and relax. You don't have to do 1,000 pull-ups or push-ups. You're fucking old. Calm down, and it's really refreshing. It's really a good balance.
Yeah. As we're getting older, right? Pretty much everyone lives with some kind of level of pain or discomfort. And, for most folks that are not clued into the hemp and cannabis industry, they reach for the white bottle in the medicine cabinet. And, they reach for the Tylenol, they reach for this or that. And, the damaging effects of those drugs is proven. If you take excess Tylenol, you're going to have liver problems. And like you said, the heavier drugs, the morphine stuff, I mean, it relieves the pain, but you lose a big part of yourself there.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not CBD and the THC is not going to take away the pain, but we all live with pain and we get through the days. And that's unfortunately just, for us that are lucky enough to get old is our reward.
Yeah.
So,
that's
the
a
more
great way of putting it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a way to help us manage and reframe our perspective on pain and pain management. And
see, that's a very good point of view. Yeah.
And much, much better for yourself and your mental clarity to use a CBD product because it does come from the earth. The flower is great. If you want to smoke it, wonderful. If you want to, take those buds, they're, I see them on Amazon, these wonderful little infusion things. You put in your oil, you put in some of our buds, and it infuses it for you. And then you can use that in anything. Nice.
The set it and forget it things.
It's great. I think, they're like $60-$70, but, you don't have to do the decarb thing. I mean, throw it in the tray and in the oven and then on the stove. It's just this little machine. You throw our flour in there, you get your infused oil.
That's dope.
And so, and you can make products with that too.
Yeah.
Olive oil is great for your skin. You can cook with it. You can, make soaps and salves and other things. And that was kind of how I got started with the plate muscle relief too. Was the CBD Organics brand. It has a bunch of products, and now we have the farm too, but we're kind of doing maybe a little too much as far as the products, because now we have a facial moisturizer, we got a mineral cream, we got a ton of different things, and I feel like we kind of got lost in the sauce there a little bit. And so I wanted to start another company that just did one product and it did it well and just nail the crap out of a great topical pain relief cream.
And you have. Yeah. It's like I spent years, again, since like 2011 actually, within cannabis trying to figure it out, because I knew starting off with all the different crap with the Navy was giving you for medications or the VA. I was like, look, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it, and then I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna try that, because I'm not gonna stay entrapped in the thought that this is gonna be the solution. So when I started, going into the cannabis world, so to speak, it was very interesting how, like what you're saying, there's a billion different types of products. Mm-hmm. Just everybody's doing it. And this was just straight, cannabis before the AMU Act really kind of fucked shit up. I'm not going to lie. But what it does now is it's bringing things to the market and providing things like your products with certifications, validation, laboratory science. And you could take that and then utilize it for information like we're doing today, where hey, you don't have to kill yourself because you're in pain. I'm not trying to minimize that if somebody's feeling that way, but I guarantee you there's people on the planet that, bro, today's the day. I'm not going to, I'm drink these pills, I'm going to drink this beer, or however you figure it out. But instead it's like, well, wait a minute, bud. Like, why don't we try a little bit of this cream, like, for a couple of days? Maybe try some of this flour, try these gummies, try this oil. How about you try to infuse your stuff, and it takes you out of your comfort zone, right? Yeah. And I don't mean comfort zone because maybe people aren't comfortable. Maybe they're just in the cyclical psychology of pain. They're entrapped in it, and that is not necessarily comfort zone, but something they're stuck in. We call that a stuck point, right? And trying other things, might pull their head out of their ass. And I mean that, as a good gentleman should say, hey, bud, pull your head out of your ass, pull your shit together, and try something different first. I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to do something with your life or to do something with your life, but give yourself the opportunity to maybe try something different. You know what I mean?
And, a lot of people that are in that dark space, self-medicating with drugs and alcohol is, it's advertised. You look at these liquor commercials and everybody's having a great time with booze. And, sometimes it goes down a dark road, and sometimes you can feel like you are trapped. And even if you have, beauty in your life, that blinds you, and you can't see what the good is. Or, I used to love doing this, or, I used to love playing video games. Now I just
stare at a fucking wall.
I don't do it. It doesn't give me the joy it once did. And then they turn to dark stuff like that. And to those folks, I say better days will return. Yeah. You just, it's a necessity to clear the dark clouds around you. And for that pain relief, I think CBD is a great way to do it. That's more natural than anything that you're going to get from a pharmacy. And, trying a topical like the Plate Muscle Relief, it's got a ton of CBD, 7,000 milligrams in there. So it's one of the highest milligram CBD topicals on the market. But sometimes CBD topical doesn't work for everyone. If you have physical pain, there's a limit to how deep a topical is going to penetrate. And, I give free samples away of the plate for people to try out. And I said, look, if you're not feeling pain relief in under 5 minutes, try a bit more, put it on. If you're still not feeling pain relief, I don't know if that topical CBD is going to work for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you have what is it called, a compound fracture, this ain't the shit.
No.
Yeah, no, it's like, let's be rational in our application of shit, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what I bring up a lot, because my doctors finally got a good concept of balanced pain relief between anti-inflammatory and muscle relief, right? But I don't find it to be as dramatic, of course, as pain modulation through actual, pain medicines, which would be opiates, narcotics, etc. And with this topical, I go, it's so as much as I can market it without sounding like that guy on the radio. Well, this weekend I tried this product. Well, let me tell you what, June. Yes, John. Let me tell you what I felt. As much as I don't want to be that guy, I'm like, look, like at the beginning of the season, I quicked my neck, like it was just out. And so I was like, fuck, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to record. Of course, recording's not that big of a deal. We're doing it right now. We're sitting in a chair, got some microphones, got some Zoom going. But the whole apparatus of my big fucking head on top of my shoulders, it's like, hey, boss, like, what's the plan? Right. And so I put the topical on, and you're right. Like within 5 minutes, I was like, you know what? I'm moving a little bit better. It's not gone. I'm very aware of it. Right. But just like, the lion with the thorn in its hand, it really kind of started to soothe it, and couldn't pull it out because it's my neck.
Yeah.
But I wish at times, yes, of course. But the relief was, hey, all right, I got through the recording sessions. I was able to focus on people, not me or my pain.
Right.
I was able to get the questions out. I was able to compose myself of thought. I wasn't inhibited by a heavy stony feeling. I wasn't loopy and, laughing at no dumb joke like, I said fart, fart. I wasn't feeling out of body or any kind of different that people say they feel when they smoke a lot of THC, or if they try different topical creams like diclofenac will give some of a euthmatic, or what do they call it?
Like the euphoric feeling.
Yeah.
And for folks where a topical isn't really doing the trick for you, that's when I would recommend they turn to an oral medication for CBD or application. So the gummies.
I always recommend oral. Highly.
There you go.
That's how you keep everybody happy.
Yes, sir.
You can tell who's really giving and taking in that way.
But, once you ingest it, now it's in your bloodstream. Yeah. And now it's going to circulate to all of your internal organs. And so what I tell folks that have pain that topicals aren't able to touch, try some of the gummies. See if these are going to work out for you. Banner takes 2 or 3 of them a night, and that helps calm him down and get him there. And I know it helps him with pain management too. But let's say you try that and it's still not doing the trick. That's when I would turn people to the tinctures. And so this is like a little dropper where it's more concentrated CBD in there. So we have it's a broad spectrum. So it has some of the CBG, some of the CBN, a lot of CBD in there. And that's a 2,500 milligram in a little 2-ounce tincture.
Oh, sweet.
So that's a lot of heavy CBD. And we had a lab test done recently. It tested closer to 3,000 milligrams. So it's a good one because we always want to be over.
Yeah.
We never want to be under. And
don't be like amplifiers, please, for the love of God. Yeah. And if anybody's listening and you have ever bought an amplifier, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, it's 1,000-watt rated. Yeah, but it's only fucking 400 RMS, guy.
Yeah.
Calm down.
And, the interesting thing with lab testing, so I've been through this whole podcast talking about, make sure you're getting products with a certificate of analysis. The interesting thing is, these labs are different too. And I've heard throughout the industry, there can be as much as a 10% margin of error from one lab to another, even though they try to calibrate their machines. They're independent labs. They are certified through hemp testing agencies that are nationwide, but there's always a margin of error.
Yep.
And, if it's as much as 10%, hey, if I want to test at 250 or 2,500 milligrams, that's 250 milligrams of CBD that could go one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I at least wanted to be at, 3,000 just in case, somebody independently tests our stuff. They take it to a different lab. I never want to test under.
Yeah.
And so even the plate, I advertise 7,000 milligrams. We're at like 8,600.
Yeah, no,
now
nice.
When we're at 7,000 milligrams advertised, a 10% margin of error is 700 milligrams. So I kind of, if I want to play ball the way I'm advertising, that's kind of where I need to be with it.
Yeah, because you actually want to give people what they're thinking they're buying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some folks just doesn't touch them.
Really?
And some folks are just not susceptible to CBD, and that's okay. But one thing I would definitely caution everybody who's listening, if you're trying to get CBD gummies, don't get anything on Amazon. All of them, they say hemp gummies, 20,000 milligrams, 50,000 milligrams, 100,000 milligrams. That is hemp oil. It is not CBD.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and that was a big thing. When people were coming in, they say, well, how come this jar of gummies is $50?
Yeah.
And it only has 900 milligrams of CBD. I see this thing on Amazon for $17.99 that has, 30,000 milligrams. Yeah, that's just like hemp oil that you buy at the store. There's no active ingredient in it. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So Amazon is not a place to buy any CBD products, period.
So the other thing I did want to get definitely down because when I was looking for medications, right, as a patient, like everybody would be like, but you're not grilling him. Ask the tough questions. Is he really getting his stuff from Alibaba in China? and it's just some kind of powder form? And, ask that question. So I'm going to ask that question.
Sure.
Because that's a concern of mine, right? I'm not saying that you're going to get fentanyl in your fucking CBD shit when you order from Alibaba, but you may not be getting CBD from a hemp-derived product. Is that what's going on in the industry too?
I haven't really seen a lot of that. I kind of steer clear of the vape stuff because that is where I've seen or heard a lot of that stuff from China, where it's, you'll get an oil from over there and you don't really know what the hell is in there. So the vape stuff does concern me a little bit. But if you're just talking about CBD oils and CBD products, you want to look for a couple things. You want to see that certificate of analysis, first off. You want to see that it's manufactured in America, not bottled here, not packed here, made in USA. And that needs to be the product and the packaging, I would say, too. Because you can get, these little bottles from China. You don't know if they're cleaned properly, what material they're really using out of them, especially if something's plastic coming from China.
That's true.
You don't know. I mean, they can put that number 2 stamp on the bottom of whatever they want. You don't know what actually is in there.
Yeah.
But a majority of the CBD products that are out there are manufactured with what is called CBD isolate.
CBD isolate.
Yes. And so this is a powder that is basically, you take the hemp plant and you distill just the pure CBD out of it.
Okay.
And so when we make our products, we get just this pure CBD powder that is at least 99.5% CBD pure. The other 0.05% is typically a CBDV, which is just another cannabinoid version of CBD.
Okay.
So, you have nearly 100% purity on this thing, but you want that to be lab tested too. And so when you have both of those combined, you can know that you've got some confidence in your product. And you also want to, when you're out there in the industry, I want you to buy from us because, we take pride in our accountability and our certificates of analysis. But if you're out there, you're at the gas station, you need relief right now, or you're looking at other websites, or you like a particular version of the product, or, I want my CBD in a deodorant, I want to get it that way.
I could just imagine.
Yeah. Actually, plate muscle relief deodorant's coming soon.
Yeah, maybe. Or like a stick.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a stick applicator.
So
look at the brainstorming going on.
Here we go. But so you want to find a brand that openly promotes its certificates of analysis, whether it's a QR code that's on the product that you scan or it's on their website. So that's number one. Number two, you want to make sure that it's a recent certificate of analysis. And a lot of companies out there will create a brand and they'll get products that are made from a third-party company, so a white label guy. So, these guys will make tinctures or gummies for 100 different other companies and they'll slap somebody else's label on it. You want to make sure that the certificate of analysis you're seeing matches with the product that you're getting. And so every COA will have a physical picture of the retail product attached to it. And that's part of the lab's job. They, you send them your product, they take a picture of it, they test it, they give you the results.
Nice.
And it should also, you should be able to look up the COA on a website called Confident Cannabis.
Confident.cannabis.com.
Confident Cannabis, that is where I believe every lab in the country uploads their COAs to that single database. And that is for hemp, that's for cannabis, that's for everything in this industry. It all gets uploaded there. And it's really cool because you can look at these graphs where they show you 3-dimensional models of different strains. And they show you a 3-dimensional point on a map where it lands as far as THC, CBD levels. And so if you're, you kind of in one corner, it's super high THC, very low CBD, and then you have this other corner. So it can also, if you are into smoking and you want to try to find a cool strain to try out, it's a cool resource to find what you're looking for from the medical relief standpoint, and then say, hey, here are 5 strains that match the pain relief you're looking for. Or you want to get melt your face off high. You're going to Cabo next week, and you feel like, you want to risk taking some shit down there. Like, okay,
you just want to disappear for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or, Vegas time, baby. Let's elope. Let's go. Like, there you go.
Just having a good day.
So it's matching up that COA to Confident Cannabis's database because, like I mentioned, there are some people from the industry when it was illegal that are now in it now that it's legal. And there are still some shady business practices out there and some shady people in the industry. And, we've been in the CBD business for 5-6 years now. And I've definitely had some certificates of analysis sent to me that have been doctored, that have been changed. And where I see it and I look and I say, okay, yeah, these numbers look good. Then I call the lab because the lab has their number. And I say, hey, here's a batch number. I'm just verifying authenticity on this. And most of the times these labs say, yeah, just email it to us. I'll get right back to you. And then I get a phone call back from them and they say, well, I can't tell you what, but this certificate has been altered.
Got it.
From the one you sent us does not match. And so these labs are excellent with their confidentiality, but that immediately lets you know, okay, something's up here. And so whenever I've seen a COA, come on my desk or through my email with that, I just say, you know what, I can't really do business with you. And whether or not that's their fault or, they got that COA from somebody else, and they didn't necessarily alter it. It lets me know that they're not doing their due diligence either. And so it's about accountability every step of the way. And so that is a big reason why we started the farm. We wanted to take it from the seed to the final product and really have control over that. And
that's remarkable.
And, we're still struggling. Unfortunately, this last year, all of our plants went to seed.
What does that mean?
So at some point, somewhere in our area, there must have been some male plants, which basically hermaphrodited all of our crop.
Oh, shit.
And so, we harvest a bud. It's full of seeds. You can't smoke that.
No.
At all. And so, they basically killed all of our crop. And the county did come out and they had to witness destruction. So we lost everything this year.
Oh, my God, dude.
So that was...
So does that happen, like, let's say, naturally, if there's not, like, a presence of males? I've heard of that happening. And then also the other question, or is that something like blowover, kind of like
exactly.
what you're saying?
So that's what we think is going on. There may have been some other folks in town here where, we have Santa Ana winds during summer, and we have a ton of canyons here in Valley Center, and the wind just like whips through and blow. I mean, you know how much dust is in our little town.
Oh, yeah, no. I could wash my truck.
Yeah.
And then the next day, it looks like I didn't even wash the truck.
Yeah. No,
and this is just dust.
Yeah, and so you can see that these particulates get carried miles and miles and miles. So that's, it's another challenge, and it's another testament to the need for people to be doing it legit, because then it hurts everybody in the farming community. And I think earlier you said, hey, why aren't there more of these hemp farmers up here? Well, that really hurt us.
Yeah.
The cost of water up here, not everybody had the resources we did to drill our own well. So they're paying $1,500 per acre foot in water. And, I know there were a couple new farms that started up, I think, last year. If they suffered our loss, who knows if they're going to make it again this year.
Yeah.
So certainly challenges there. But we're never going to stop. We are going to grow again next year. I think we're going to grow even smaller because every year, we shrunk down more and more and more because we're still finding it hard to find buyers for the CBD. But I think, the way that we were trying to do it was selling in bulk to these big guys that are out there. And now, having the opportunity to be a part of your podcast and reach out to your listeners, we want to reach out directly to the people who are buying this, because like I mentioned, these big guys that are buying, 100 pounds a week, you don't know where it's going, what it's being sprayed with potentially, and what final market it's going to.
Right.
So buying direct from a farm is really the way to go if you want that. And, for your listeners, we'll create some kind of coupon code for them, but I want to give them 50% off of our flour through
That
the
is
website.
so dope.
So it is from last year's crop, since this year, unfortunately, it took a big dump on us. But it's been stored very well, still has wonderful nose on it. And like you said, you enjoy it.
I do.
You still are smoking it. So
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I think I'm not the normal guy, right? Like people be, dude, you smoke a lot. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. Okay. But
Right.
where you're right is I'm not always melting my face off with some high percentage vape stuff or
Yep.
concentrates. I'm probably on a solid, this is homegrown, mixed in with some CBD that you got.
Yeah, and that's what I tell folks. I say, look, if you like the high effect, grind up some of our CBD flower, mix it in with it. Because then you're going to reduce the THC, so you're going to be able to function. You're going to be able to smoke a joint like our forefathers did.
Yeah.
And not feel, like you're going insane. And then you also get the benefit of the additional CBD in there too.
Yeah, I notice it especially like when I'm recording. Okay, so I'll take a break and then I'll go have a joint. Then I'll come back. In about 5 minutes, I'm just like, okay, cool, I'm back in my groove. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult for a lot of people to find anything that gives you that, because it's usually, hey, you take this medicine usually late because you don't want to overtake it or take it too often. This is how I apply medicine anyway. Right. So I always try to push myself, if it's the pill, tizanidine, it's a muscle relaxer. It works really good for me. A 4 milligram pill, it would put anybody else just straight asleep, right? And I use that with Etidolac, and then I'm still in pain. I'm still not manageable, right? So then I'll use a combination of my homegrown, and I've never gotten it tested. I don't know.
It's
But
it's
enough.
$80,
Yeah,
and it could be fun to just see.
Yeah, and then here's the CBD that I mix it with, and I'm like, cool, like this is what's up. Now I'm back to what I planned on doing, and then again with the plate muscle relief cream at the night, like hit me up with some of them, rubby dubbies, and I feel a lot better. It's like you're saying, it's not like this magical pill, it's not this magical sauce, but it's something that is something very valuable to throw in your toolbox. I talk to people a lot about, mental ninja shit, where you're like, how do I add more tools to my toolbox to not make poor decisions, coping mechanisms, better habits, better thought processes, not negative self-talking, and all this different shit. Yeah. And so, but when you throw in plant-based medicines, I was just talking to Jared the other day, and the concept of plant-based medicines we are feeding something that feeds us. We're growing with the things that are growing us, ourselves. And the whole concept of organic farming, right? The whole, I guess the awareness is where I get really turned on to the concept of organic farming, because it's great, and you can actually increase your yields by organic farming. You take the water resources, right? You can minimize how much water you have or using. So you reduce your water usage, you increase your yields, and it mitigates even pests or pestilence like within the plant sources. So your plants are healthier, your crops are healthier, I should say. The bugs in the environment are healthier, because like you were saying, if you're feeding, this plant X, Y, and Z, and you're killing off bugs, and then that poison builds up in the bug, and then here's some birds eating the bugs, and then so it builds up in the birds. The birds falling out of the sky, then it gets into the dogs or whatever else is eating that thing. It's a big way of thinking, and that's super valuable. And to go back to what you're talking about with just the CBD flower, or just, products in general, to have that accountability and transparency, to be forthcoming and being like, look, like, you can go get it somewhere cheaper. You don't want that. All right.
Well, and if folks are listening and they want to try some CBD, I would recommend going with a CBD product that is made with just isolate, just the pure CBD, because there is a distillate and a crude version that can be made or used to make those products, and then you're introducing stuff that is not just CBD.
Okay.
So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Get the certificate of analysis, make sure it's made in the USA, and see what kind of CBD is used as the main ingredient in the product.
Nice. Now, to wrap it up a bit, I really want to give you the moment to kind of tell us where we can acquire these type of products.
Yeah, so our site is shopcbdorganics.com. And I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but by that time, we'll have your coupon code, whatever we want that to be, live on the site, so your listeners can get their discounts there. So shopcbdorganics.com. I think we'll also apply that to the CBD products, not just the flower.
Nice.
So, if they want to try the gummies, if they want to try the tinctures, we'll have those discounts available for them. And then platemusclerelief.com. It's where you get the Plate Direct. There's only one product. You try it for free, and I think you have a coupon code too. You pay for the shipping, but your coupon code gives your listeners the shipping for free too. So absolutely free. We'll ship you a little sample. It's about $20 worth of the product. Get for free, try it out. And I mean, as far as I've seen with testimonials for people, one of the best topicals out there.
Yeah, it's totally solid. Like, I'm not just saying it because you're a sponsor, but everybody else will be like, nah, he's fucking lying. I know that guy.
Yeah.
No, but for me, it's just been, again, an additional tool in the toolbox, and to be able to carve out a better perspective of living where you're not overwhelmed, because it is overwhelming, right? Like you just mentioned, to try different things. You're going to a gas station, you pick something up. You go to Amazon, you pick something up. Yeah. There's so many different things out there in the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, who the fuck am I to advise anybody on anything? And I go, well, I'm just the guy that's surviving, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm trying to thrive, but I'm surviving. Day to day, dealing with hemorrhoids, like I currently am, or back pain, upper neck pain, whatever the pain is, and whatever type of injury you have. Like, even if it's just old man, the weather is changing and my knees getting a little goofy. Mm-hmm. This really helps with what it is that people are looking for, right? And then how do we piggyback on validating? Well, you got to fucking try it, right?
You do.
You got to try it. You got to take the risk. Like, a lot of people I know, you're looking at me going, hey, you said free, but that shipping's $8.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but the product itself is worth a lot more.
It's huge.
A lot more.
And, for the price of the 6-pack you would buy from the gas station, for your own self-medication.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That's the price of shipping. For
Yeah.
$20 worth of the product. So,
and finding something that may work for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it works, man, it's like way more price.
It's your wife's super fancy cup of coffee at Starbucks can be $8.
Just one cup of coffee, please.
Yeah, a holiday.
That'll be $19.
The holiday special Starbucks,
Yeah.
So I would encourage people, hey, take an $8 risk. It could change your life for the better.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been my experience.
There we go.
Yeah. And then the same thing with everything else, guys. Check it out. Shop Organics.
Shop CBD Organics.
ShopCBDorganics.com.
Yes.
And then, of course,
platemusclerelief.com.
Nice.
That one's easy. There's just one product on there at the top. It'll say buy plate or try plate for free. And then punch in Joey's coupon code and you'll get it absolutely free.
That's what's up. And you can use our link tree on our social media for the Devil Doc Talk Show, Devil Doc Talk. You can go on our Instagrams. You can go on the Twitters, believe it or not.
There we go.
Even though everybody's like, Twitter's going crazy. I'm like, yeah.
It's another platform. Go for it, baby.
Yeah. And they still let us promote Linktree. So I was like, I don't know what truth is about all this other crap that everybody's talking about, but check out the Linktree. It's one of the top links. It's Plate Muscle Relief. I'm going to add that other one, the Shop Organics.
Shop CBD Organics. Yes, sir.
So I fucking got to practice that shit. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. This was a great conversation with our sponsor again, Nick Care.
Yes, that's right, Joey. Thanks for having me on today.
I loved it. Great conversation.
See ya.
Internet. Hello. This is your host number 4. And this is the number representing our number 6 is the shit.
The need is